for September. It's 9 o'clock and we are going to open the Albemarle County Electoral Board meeting for its duly called September the 12th meeting. I see that we can establish a quorum. All three members are here. And I am going to take the chairman's prerogative. I've spoken with several other, many of the electoral boards, registrars, etc., and we are going to open our meeting with prayer. Our dear Heavenly Father, we come to you this morning with grateful hearts for being with us and guiding us in our recent times of trouble in this office. We have moved on. We are particularly grateful that we have a new general registrar and new staff, and that you are helping us get through this election. Dear Lord, we are particularly in prayer this morning for our country. We ask your guidance and your peace because of the constant violence that seems to be invading our country. Most recently, the horrible murder of a young man who had your faith and you with him. And all he wanted to do was spread that and spread truth and freedom in our country. Dear Lord, we ask your continuous guidance on this office and our country. We pray this. Amen. Thank you. Okay, approve the agenda from someone.
Actually, I'd like to change the agenda.
Please do. I've got
Um,
some items that I've added also.
We have an L&A item for ballot on demand printing to
Yep.
sort out.
Yep.
I'd like to put that on
New business. Okay.
And I have one other item for new business that the topic is on EO approvals, but it's not going to be specific EOs. It's just a process thing that I'd like to have also.
Okay, and I've got one of those also. Great. So what we thought was going to be a brief meeting, we may have some good things to do.
Yeah, approval for putting that.
New business at the bottom of the
New
list.
business. Any brief announcements from the board? I'd like to restate that our registrar is active, engaged. We invite you to go into the office and see the transformation. She is working extremely diligently along with staff to get our ballot orders into Print-Elect this morning or this afternoon so that we can send out all the requested absentee ballots, or at least send the list to Print-Elect, and they will print and deliver and mail our ballots. So that's why she's not in the room, but she has her able, brand newly announced to be sworn in today, election manager, Alex Branch, who is the representative from the GR's office in our meeting this morning. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
We also have a new chief deputy registrar.
So you just announced that Alex is now election manager.
Correct. He's being sworn in after this meeting. And our registrar will be sworn in.
Okay.
And when the chief deputy registrar is put on board by HR on Monday, she will be sworn in. And the reason that these people are sworn in is that they are handling ballots. They are handling sensitive information. They have access not only to look, but to change in the Virginia Election Registration Information System, which is this is hopefully the last election we will have Verus. New system has been paid for and is being test driven. Hopefully it will be on board if we have a primary next June. Hopefully it won't just wait until the new election next year.
For the record, do you want to announce the name of the chief deputy registrar? Okay.
I'm getting that. The new chief deputy will be Janelle McFadden. And this is a lady who now lives in Newport News. She has family in this area and she'll be living with family until she gets transitioned. But she can't actually start working until HR finishes her paperwork, which we have been told is Monday. So we hope that will be the case. She brings with her a lot of managerial experience, not only in Virginia, but nationwide. So, and she's facile with computers and her people skills and writing skills. So I think the registrar has made a really good decision on this lady. And you'll meet her at our next meeting. We, as I said, the elect is mailing our first delivery of mailed out absentee ballots, which are everybody who is on the permanent absentee ballot list, as well as anyone who has put in an application for a mailed out absentee ballot. The deadline for those being postmarked is the same day of the first day of in-person absentee voting. And the list will be sent electronically to Print Elect in New Bern, North Carolina, where they will print the ballots because they print all of our ballots. This year, they will mail all of our mailed out absentee ballots, which is a great burden lifted from the staff in the office. We will, of course, continue to get the mail returned to this office. And the office will send an electronic download every day to Print Elect, so they'll have the updated, because the code requires that mailed out absentee ballots go out within 24 hours of receipt of request. Any questions on any of it?
Once the absentee ballot period starts, so not
Yeah.
now, but.
No, once it starts.
That date is.
No, yes. The deadline for sending out the first
You
mailed
send a
out,
request today, you don't get a ballot tomorrow.
not until after the 19th of September.
So they're not going out until the 19th?
They will go out as soon as Print Elect has this first electronic download.
And when
But they have to go, there's no requirement of when Print Elect will put them in the mail, except that they have to put them in the mail no later than close of business on the 19th.
No ballots come back before that.
And when will the download be sent?
Today,
Thank you.
so that they have time to print the labels. There are 3 labels that go with every mailed out absentee ballot. And they can't do that until they have the list.
Glad we don't have to do that.
Very glad we don't have to do that anymore. Thank you, Peyton. Absolutely. Alex, you have anything else that I've neglected to bring from the registrar? Okay. We do have open public comment in our meeting. We ask that you introduce yourself, and whether you're on the remote feed or in the house, let us know who you are and if you represent any particular organization or party. We ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes. We also remind you that our meetings are open and transparent, and we like to have interaction with the public. So if you have a comment as we run through our agenda, please don't hesitate to raise your hand. Wait till you're recognized so that able secretary can take notes and not have people talking all over each other.
But does anyone have any public comment now?
Yes, sir.
Well, it's not a comment. Can you repeat, Louis Charles, can you repeat who's going to be sworn? I know you said Alex. Did you mention someone else also?
The general registrar. Today, the interim general registrar will be sworn in, and Alex Branch will.
But not the interim general.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Okay. I thought you said general registrar.
Well, she is the general registrar right now.
Interim general registrar.
It's just that her term will end when the close of this election is finalized.
Okay, that's what confused because I thought you had found a general registrar also instead of person.
She is right now the general registrar. Her term is interim.
Okay.
So we can refer to her either as the interim general registrar or as the registrar.
Karen has unmuted. I don't know if she wants to.
Karen, do you have is your
I
hand?
do. I have yeah, I don't know where the hand is, but I do have a question. My name is Karen Yule Nilsson. I'm the election integrity person for the Republican Party.
Wait a minute. Karen, we can hear you, but it sounds as if you're speaking through some sort of muffler. So if you'll speak slowly, we'll try to put the sound of your voice together. I'm sorry to ask you to do that, but we all want to be able to hear you and hear your questions. Go ahead.
All right. My name is Karen Yule Nielsen. I'm with the Election Integrity Committee of the Republican Party. And my question is the board still considering new chiefs and assistant chiefs for both parties, the Democrat and the Republican Party, for this upcoming election? Or is that process completed?
There's a yes and no part of that. When we go into closed session, we are going to review the list that we have been trying to fill for the chiefs and the assistant chiefs. And there's some moving around of chiefs and assistant chiefs. That should be completed at the end of the meeting today. When we come out of closed session, we should have a completed list for chiefs and assistant chiefs. We should. We are still accepting applications for officers of election.
All right, but my question was, are you considering new chiefs and assistant chiefs for either party, or are you just shuffling the ones you already have?
I think we already have.
How do you define new? People who weren't chiefs or
Election
assistants.
election officers who have not been previously assigned to be an assistant chief or a chief.
I think we have a sufficient number.
I'm not sure you are speaking
But-
correctly.
Well, we are going to go over the list again at the closed session. And when we come out of closed session, we will be better able to answer your question. And that's the best we can say.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. May we have approval of the minutes, Mr. Secretary?
Hang on a second. Uh, have you had a chance to read these?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And we talked with you yesterday about some additions and edits.
Which I made, I believe. So I move approval of the minutes from September 8th.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
September the 8th minutes are approved. Thank you, sir. Old business.
I spoke with IT and have received a copy of the list document. We'll continue to work on that, and that's all we need to say in open session.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yes.
Yes.
I thought we were.
We got a vote.
We have two.
So tracking down the list document was my first order of business.
Not readily and easily findable. So we appreciate your diligence in finding it. The ADA inspection, anything else on that? You're okay?
Done.
Okay. The ADA inspections and certifications, we agreed that I would contact the school system. I put in a call to the facilities management and to the schools to get the person who is in charge of ADA compliance. And hopefully I will hear back from that person today. The same for the schools. And then we're going to divide the list and send out a roster as soon as I get that comment, so we can get those people to go with us when we go to our individual polling places. Most of our polling places are schools or government buildings, so we don't have but about, I think, 9 or 10.
So are you waiting to hear the ADA, county ADA coordinator?
Yes,
Is with facilities management.
That's
not
correct.
In the school system.
that's correct.
So you're waiting to hear back from that person, but also from someone in the school system?
We need to have verification that on record, the school system has
Hear from two.
two people. Yes, sir. Any other old business? Okay, new business.
Right, we're gonna do a brief work session. Leave this to Debbie.
And we'd like to introduce counsel from the county attorney's office,
Anyone like
Andrea
It's
Ruby.
about FOIA. Anyone would like a handout? Actually, looks like I need just enough copies.
And while Ms. Ruby is, Council Ruby is handing out, I want to again thank her publicly for the record. Because when she came to Albemarle, she probably had no idea that as many hours of her day and night would be devoted to elections, but we appreciate your assistance. Thank you.
My pleasure. Again, my name is Andrea Brucki. I started working for the county in June. I was with the city of Chesapeake previously, so not new to local government work, just new to Albemarle County. I did want to just very briefly, I don't expect this to be a lengthy presentation at all. Quick overview.
Just before you start.
Yes, sir.
So for purposes of the minutes, I can just say you conducted a work session.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, and just make sure that that's an attachment to the minutes. Okay, and I can get you another copy of that. Just a quick overview. The electoral board and the elections office, it's a little bit of a unique structure, different than some other county departments. The electoral board appoints the general registrar, and they set the number of employees that work in the general registrar's office. It's then up to the general registrar to hire all of the employees that are within their office. The general registrar sets the duties for any deputies in their office. And they also have the ability to remove anyone who's not able to fulfill the obligations or the roles of their position. So that's kind of an overview of the structure. The general registrar reports directly to the electoral board. All the deputies report to the general registrar. And it's somewhat of a unique situation in that the registrar themselves is not really a county employee. That's a position that's state funded. So what happens, the checks are cut from the county, but we get reimbursement from the state to pay for the general registrar's position. But with all the deputies, they are purely county employees, which means that they deal with and interact with county HR. So, and Jim, you might want to write this down. Matthew Lawson is the HR liaison for the elections office. He also is the HR liaison for all county partner agencies that discuss HR in their memorandums of understanding that they might have with the county. So again, I'm new, I'm still learning all the partner agencies, but as an example, one of the other partner agencies that Matthew works with is the Emergency Communication Center, the ECCs, the 911 dispatch center, essentially. So he does HR for them and other agencies. He also is the HR point of contact for county IT, and then our CDD, it is the department that handles development permits and things like that. So he has a pretty hefty portfolio. Alex, if you could maybe just relay this. I know there's a couple of open job postings right now. Typically what happens when a job is posted on HR's website, if there's a close date, HR will accumulate and gather all the applications as they come in. And then once that position closes, all the applications are sent over at one time. Because of the nature of needing to get people in and hired, we've had the positions posted as open until filled. So if there's and I know they've been sending things over, but if there's been a few days that you haven't heard anything or haven't received any applications, just be sure to reach out to Matthew and ask him to send over any applications. I've worked with him before. He's a really, really great guy. He's very, very good at his job. He's very thorough. He's very, very responsive. If you try to call him and are unable to reach him, again, he's got a pretty hefty portfolio. Leave him a message, send him an email, or he's really very responsive too through Teams. I found him really very quick to respond. So unless he's out of the office for some personal reason, I cannot speak highly enough of Matthew. I've been very impressed with his work since I've been with the county. So that is a quick little overview of county HR and what county HR does for the elections office. Now I want to turn to FOIA. So FOIA, just some basic FOIA information. FOIA stands for the Freedom of Information Act. It's a Virginia law that ensures basically transparency in government. There's a federal version as well. I believe every state has a version of FOIA on their books. So it's just difference in nuance between different states. Really, the idea behind it is that the affairs of government are not supposed to be conducted in an atmosphere of secrecy. That's directly from the code. FOIA specifically applies to public records and to access to public meetings where there's business that's being taken place. And unless there's an exemption that applies, every public record or every public meeting is supposed to be open to the public. And we'll talk about exemptions in a minute. With respect to meetings, the applicable code section is 2.2-3707. And again, with limited exception, all meetings of public bodies are supposed to be open. Notice must be given for all public meetings. You're required to provide the date, time, location, and remote location if that's something that the board has opted to do. Obviously, we provide remote access to our meetings. So that is something that must happen to give proper notice under FOIA. Notice should be posted on the website in a prominent location where notices are posted. I believe the door constitutes that here. And then we don't have a clerk of this public body. It's a very small public body, but like for the county itself, there's the county clerk. Things are posted there, but then at the office of the chief administrator of the public body. Notice of the meeting needs to be posted at least 3 working days before the meeting. And so the day of the meeting does not count. So that means if a notice were to be posted today for a meeting, the earliest that meeting could happen would be Friday, Monday, Tuesday. So Wednesday would be the first day that we could have a meeting. Generally, I recommend the further out you can schedule meetings, the better, because we don't want to run into a time that we're crunched for time. If something were to come up today and we're unable to post the meeting today, then now 3 days can't begin running until Monday because it has to be working day. There are certain exceptions for emergencies, special meetings, or if there's a meeting that needs to be continued for any reason. These meetings are early and thankfully do not go for 24 hours. But in the event I came from the city of Chesapeake and I'm still saying city council, it is ingrained in my brain. So the board of supervisors, if their meeting were to go very long and they needed to continue to another day, they can do that. But notice in those events needs to happen reasonably and as soon as possible. That is it's a very limited, narrow exception. The code does define what an emergency is. There's no definition to my knowledge of a special meeting. But again, that would be something that would need to happen quickly. And that notice has to happen contemporaneously with the notice that's given to the public body. At least one copy of the agenda and all documents have to be available that are given to the public body also have to be available to the public body, have to be available to the public. So I know obviously I just gave you handouts. I just gave you something to give them to the board. When we have copies of the agenda that are here for the public to look at. So that's how we fulfill that requirement. And then meetings have to be taken at all open meetings. So Jim is our diligent secretary. He does a great job with the minutes. They have to be in writing, and there's a couple of requirements that have to go into the minutes, but Jim has well satisfied all of those requirements. Closed meetings. So this is where, when I mentioned earlier, an exemption for a public meeting, an exemption would be a permission to go into what we call closed meeting or executive session. Virginia Code section 2.2-3711 is the applicable code section. During closed, as you all know, the public can't sit and observe those meetings. We turn off the recorder, and it is just the board and any staff that maybe need to participate, or if I need to participate. It's limited to the business that's going to be done in closed, which has to be done for a particular purpose that we'll talk about in just a moment. Public bodies are free to schedule meetings for the express purpose of going into closed session. So actually, when we're doing a hiring process, is a great example. So if we knew we were going to just be doing interviews, you could schedule a meeting and be open and then move right into closed session. That is 100% legal under the law.
You still have to open it.
You still have to open the meeting. Yes, you do.
This question on that. Say we were having one of those, that's all we were doing.
Mhm.
Do we have to do a Zoom thing for 30 seconds to open the meeting and then cut off the Zoom thing?
That's a good question that I'd like to look into a little bit more for you.
Waste
You're
of time.
not required actually to provide an electronic access. Obviously, by providing electronic access to meetings, you're ensuring greater public transparency and
We're not
greater.
required to.
You're not required to provide access to Zoom. I do think it's a good practice, and I really commend you all for doing that. I mean, obviously, that was something I think that really took off during COVID because, people physically could not be in the same room. But I will look into that question a little bit more closely for you, Jim, if the purpose is just to go into closed session, if you're gonna open and the immediate business that's gonna be taken is a motion to go into closed. We can look into that. Yes.
Comment. In the transition that we've gone through in the registrar's office, only one person who is no longer an employee had the ability to get us into the Zoom, excuse me, and get us out. And Bucky, our able vice chair, took it upon himself to make all those transitions. So he's got the ability, which I'm sure he will convey to other people, so that if he has a flat tire,
Happily.
I'm sure, I understand. So that if he had a flat tire and we're late, somebody else would have the ability to get us into Zoom. So it's not labor intensive.
Right.
And if we want to keep our public presence and transparency,
Yeah, I agree. I think providing Zoom access to meetings, again, I think it's a very good idea. It allows for greater public participation in meetings. It allows for greater transparency. But again, just purely the law does not require that be provided. So that was.
Difficulties, it does not impair your ability to have the meeting.
exactly.
And that is actually, that also is an important point. Thank you for bringing that up. If there is a technical difficulty that prevents something from happening, it's not a FOIA violation if there's not public access via Zoom. Provided that there's a public meeting place. As I mentioned, the code is it's limited. It's a long list of exceptions that allow a public body to go into closed session. I think there's about 55, 56 exemptions. So I'm not going to go through all of them because all of them are not relevant to the electoral board. And honestly, even all the ones I included in this training may not be relevant to the electoral board, but just for purposes of education. So the one that the board has been relying on most frequently is section A1. And this is the exemption that allows the board to talk about personnel matters that are going on in the elections office. Additional exemptions that I noted are A7 and A8. Those allow for me as counsel for the electoral board to, one, provide legal advice on anything that may be going on in the office, and two, hopefully this never happens, but if there were litigation that were going on involving the electoral board, this would allow me to discuss litigation with the board in closed session so they don't jeopardize the board's position in any sort of litigation or settlement discussions. Finally, specifically for the electoral board, section A34 allows the board to move into closed session for discussion or consideration of voting security matters that are made confidential under other provisions of the law. So if there are any questions about that, I'm happy to talk with anyone about what constitutes a closed meeting. As people have heard, there's a motion that's read, the board votes on it, and then if anyone stays, when we move back into open meeting at the end, once the closed meeting has been concluded, they will move the meeting back into an open session, and then they have to vote on any business that was discussed during closed. Again, business can't occur in secret, but they need to be able to discuss particular matters. Personnel matters is really a great example, right? So, discuss someone's qualifications or someone's candidacy, but then if they're going to decide to appoint that person, then they'll vote on appointing that person in open session.
And the way we've been doing it all along, let's say all we're doing is looking at applications to be election officer. We've got 10 of those. And when we're in closed session, we approve those. And then when we come back into open session, somebody has to make a motion to approve those 10. That's the way we've been.
Yes, yeah, for the officers of election. Yeah.
because
Yep.
it's a vote.
Yep, that's a vote. And then also too, when they come out of closed session, there is a certification that's made that basically says that the electoral board agrees that the only thing that was discussed during closed session were the things that were included in the open or the closed session motion. So if they're made a motion to go into closed to discuss personnel matters, at the conclusion of the closed session, when they move back into open, a certification is made that says that the only thing that was discussed during closed were these personnel matters, and then the board has to vote on that. So that's always a part of the record. Minutes. that
And
Jim
you'll
needs.
see those in the executive session part of the minutes.
Request for records. I don't know if there's much interest for this from the at this point in time, but it's it's a really important part of FOIA, so I wanted to include it here. Like meetings, unless there's an exemption that applies, all public records are deemed open and citizens should have access. Additionally, any representatives of print media that have a circulation in the Commonwealth have access to public records, as well as representatives of radio or television stations that broadcast in the Commonwealth. Access is provided by the custodian of records, who's a gentleman in my office. His name is James Douglas. I've included his email address below. But FOIA requests can be made to anyone, and there's no particular form that they have to be made in. You could be speaking with an employee and say, I'd like to see records about X. That's considered a FOIA request, and then that employee should notify James Douglas in my office, and then he goes about and he begins gathering and looking at the records. But records have to be requested with reasonable specificity. So if the request is, I want to see all Board of Supervisor meetings where records where they approved a planning item, that's a massively huge request, and it's not very specific, and it would take million years to respond to it. Not really, but it would, it would be very lengthy. But if you were to come back and then say, I'm looking for records from this meeting about this parcel, or even really just this meeting, would be specific enough to give James the information that he needs to begin gathering all that. Public bodies have 5 days to respond to a FOIA request, and there are 4 responses that they can give. They can either say that the records are being held in their entirety, that they're being provided in part or withheld in part. So if they're being withheld in part, that means that they're redacting anything that can't be given over because an exemption applies. The third response you can give is that the records can't be found or do not exist. Or then the last one is that it's not practically possible, to produce the records within that 5-day work period. And if the locality invokes that gives them an additional 7 days to get the records. In the last jurisdiction where I was, sometimes we would get these very, very large FOIA requests, and we would then have to go back and negotiate. You can do that as well. Negotiate with the public body to ask for additional time. I mean, if someone's requesting huge amounts of records, which does happen, that is something that is available. Hopefully doesn't have to be used too often, but every once in a while it comes up. If you have a doubt, anyone on the board has a doubt whether or not a FOIA request is made, or Alex, anyone in your office, if you're like, I'm not sure if this is a FOIA request, let's send it along to James and he can make some decision and figure it out. And the reason why this is important is because anyone who feels that their FOIA rights have been violated, they can petition the court for a writ of mandamus or for an injunction, which basically says that the records were not produced and should have been produced, or that meetings weren't conducted in accordance with FOIA, and there are ramifications for individuals that do not afford people their FOIA rights. If there's a petition that's filed, there must be an affidavit filed in support. In any FOIA case that is brought, it's the public body's burden of proof to establish that an exemption exists. So traditionally, in a case when a plaintiff files a lawsuit, burden of proof is generally on the plaintiff to make their case. It's a little bit of a unique situation because the plaintiff would be filing an action, a FOIA action, and then the burden of proof is on the local body to say, we didn't produce this because we have this exemption that's allowed to us under the law. So it's a little bit of a different situation, but that is how these kinds of cases operate. If the court determines that a FOIA violation has occurred, it can impose civil penalties between $500 and $2,000. If there's a second offense, the penalty rises from a fee of not less than $2,000 to no more than $5,000. And those are levied against individuals in their individual capacity. It's not a,
The county doesn't pay for
the
that.
county does not pay for that. There are additional fees and penalties that can be imposed if there's a allegation that records have been destroyed, or if there's a knowing and willful violation. So it's really important that we are getting people the records that they need. $5,000 is not a significant amount of money. Quite frankly, I would not like to pay $500 because someone didn't get some document that they wanted. So, it's really important that we comply with FOIA. And again, if there are any questions about FOIA or its requirements, please reach out to me, the electoral board, or Alex, anyone in your office. And again, any request for records, just forward it along to James Douglas and he will be able to help you out. So are there any questions? Thank you. Yes, sir.
Mrs. Lewis, I just need some understanding.
Yes,
I
sir.
think I understand the duties of the registered office. I understand that the general register basically reports to the electoral
Yes,
board, and then the others report to general register.
Yes, sir.
My question to you is this right here. What is the procedures if someone on the electoral board was to resign, or someone had to be replaced, or someone had to be removed? What does that look like?
That is a very good question. Will you be at our next meeting? And I can fill you in at that point in time.
Save it for the next meeting.
There's a code section that will answer your question, so
Okay.
council can bring it up next week.
I can, and if you give me your email address, I can email you the code section.
Okay, sounds good.
And you
I
want
also
me-
have, I'm sorry, I have a
Yeah,
question. too. Karen Yule Nilsson again. Have there been any FOIA requests of the board this year?
I think there was one, and that just in the time that I've been here. That's it. So I can only speak to from June to now. So I apologize, I can't give you any additional information before that. But if the board,
We have had, to my knowledge, we have had one other FOIA request, which was filled and it was sent through Mr. Douglas with the county.
Okay, thank you.
You want me to attach these to the,
yep,
so if you can send
I will send you an electronic version.
to me, that would be great.
Any other questions for council? I can't, somebody have a hand up? I don't see a hand up.
No one has a hand.
No one has a hand up. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate that. Succinctly and well done. We appreciate it. Next item on new business, Division of Labor. This was for the electoral board. There are a lot of things that have to be done, a lot of jobs that have to be done. And so that the board is not tripping all over itself and duplicating what needs to be done, together a schedule.
If you tuned into our meeting 3 weeks ago on August 21st, I suggested that we might consider this because if 2 board members want to get together and talk about something, we have to have a meeting. So it would maybe be easier if we just assigned each other areas of responsibility and then we could just move forward without having a meeting with the others about that. However, in the intervening time, we hired an interim registrar, and our job for many of these things has changed from doing to oversight. So Jim, you wanted this on the agenda. Where do you want to go?
Yeah, I thought oversight as well as helping on some of these things, if the staff would like help from electrical. So as you say, so we're not tripping over each other. I thought it was a good idea to kind of say, okay, I'll go out and do oversight on this part, you do it on that part. I still think it's a good idea.
Do you have a list that you'd like to put forth?
Well,
Would you like to
I
wait
checked
that?
on things that I said I would be willing to
Go ahead.
DS 300
About 'em.
ballots.
What do you mean?
Just, well, I think that the interim registrar said we really need to inventory those ballots we got in. I don't know whether it's been done or not, but I'm willing to help with it.
The ballots for this election you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, the absentee ballots under code will go out no later, the first tranche, those that have been requested, and then they will come back in, the mailing return address.
That's a different item.
I-
AD ballots. and
I'm not
requests.
sure, I don't understand. What about DS 300s? We've done the LNA testing for the,
If there's anything else that needs to be handled with DS 300, I don't know. Maybe nothing.
okay,
Ballots, I'm just talking about the ballots that the ones that we receive, not the absentee ballots at all. That's different. Somebody else's. Early voting oversight, because I live 8 minutes away. Somebody needs to come in the morning to help get things started, come in the evening to help close things out. I'm not going to say that I'm going to come in the morning and evening 5 days a week, but I said I could do that because I'm the closest one. And polling place readiness, and that's just the matter of calling particularly our non-public school polling places. Hey, remember, we got an election on November 4th. I'll be ready. That kind of thing. Those are the ones I picked out for myself.
okay, the
Makes sense to you all?
the in-person voting is code driven under the oversight of the registrar at the registrar's office. It's happening
Right.
technically in the registrar's office, even though it's down at UMA. So thank you, Karen. I realize that your able husband is not here to give me the high sign that I was not speaking loudly enough. So I heard him in my ear, so I'm going to speak more loudly. Can you hear me? Yes, thank you. So I think we have to ask the registrar now that when she gets through getting the ballots to print elect, which is her major job right now. What type of additional help? Alex, is that something that y'all will discuss?
Absolutely, that's what we want to get, the ballots all, and we regroup, and if there's things we need your help on, we'll ask.
Yeah.
From there.
I mean, we stepped in and helped teach the staff because there was a lot going on. But now we've got to wait for her invitation, if you will. But I agree. We need to be ready to do that. The polling place readiness, we're all going to be assigned with our ADA. And if one of us is making contact with the Elks Club, pick someplace, then maybe what we ought to do is have that person, so it's one point of contact. I mean, I'm going over the contracts to make sure that everybody's got a contract, because I need to talk to Andrea, excuse me, Counselor Ruby, thank you, ma'am, to go over. Alex found a box hidden back away, and I've started going through it, and some of those contracts are out of date. So we've got to do that. But I mean, does that make sense to y'all that the person who's going to be doing the ADA compatibility,
Make sure that
they've got a point of contact, that the contact information is correct? Because we've got to talk to each one of the polling places as we visit it. And of course, the school system will provide additional, but does that make sense?
We have an ADA responsibility.
Yeah, we do.
I would argue the registrar's office has the responsibility for making sure that we have contractual arrangements in place.
I understand,
So-
and they're not in place at this
I
point.
understand, but I say for the time being, these things make sense, but
Good.
in the long run, no.
Well, we're trying to get things up to date in River City. Okay, go ahead.
So
Okay.
I would assume that poll pads would be taken on by our esteemed vice chair.
I'm going to continue helping where asked.
and since you're bringing up poll pads, the board had a meeting, a remote meeting with our poll pad vendor.
I'm going to need you
And
to
we-
revise your phrase there. We did not have a meeting.
We didn't have we had a work session. How's that?
Our vendor contacted us
That's
to give us some
correct.
information.
Thank you very much. Okay. We engaged in conversation with our vendor. And we are going to re-engage with an in-person, making sure that our poll pads are ready to go on Monday. It's not a meeting. It's a vendor coming on site to make sure that his equipment works properly. So that'll be Monday. The AB ballots we've talked about, they will be redelivered, and the registrar would like to change our mailing address from, that's a registrar's question. So the ballots will come back. The registrar's office handles the returned absentee ballots because they must be checked into Veris. And then if the need be, cured before they go to in-person, pre-processing and we have the CAP chief right here. And the CAP chief is also the pre-processing chief. So it will go to you.
Appreciate your attention to those details.
Yes, we are. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your attention.
Or wants to change our address.
We're having some difficulty with the mailbox delivery, and we're looking into that. She's looking into that. You had down here Veris access. Is that,
That was on the list I put forward 3 weeks ago when none of us had any access and we didn't know who would, but
okay,
we're making sure someone got access to Veris.
and
Obviously, that's off the table now.
that's off the table. That's been rectified. And the staffing for pickup and drop off for elections, I'm working on that with the registrar and with, when I say the registrar, I mean Alex, who is the election manager, and the election man.
Staff.
Right. Yes, I am saying. So we're working on that. Anything else?
Well, cages and transport was down there.
That's election manager.
Does somebody want to
We
sign
are,
up to help?
well,
Alex has already signed me.
Okay.
that's something, okay. No. This is not a one-man, but it's not a one-man band. For those of you who are officers of election and assistant chiefs, I see at least one. Two. All of the materials, in addition to the DS300s, that come to you in the cage, there's no little magic wand that's waved that all that material gets put in the cages. It's hands-on. And it falls to the responsibility of the election manager. And I'm certain that he would like some help in getting all of that equipment into the cages. In the past, 2 members of the electoral board have gone through on the checklist to make sure that everything is in the cage. Everything is in each of the little boxes. But we're going to try to help the election manager this year by all 3 of us being down there to get the equipment into the cages. So that's a 3-person, everybody's going to be engaged. Anything else on that?
Well, education.
we've got our training schedule set
Got
up.
our training schedule, but actually making sure we know what we're saying in our training schedule.
We'll have a work,
I think you kind of supervised is not the right word. Kind of oversaw that when we were going into the primary.
Yeah, all the materials that we put forth for that ended up in Lauren's care, so we're gonna need to hunt up slide decks or make our own.
I
well,
suppose-
Alex is saying something.
I have this.
Excellent, there we go.
Thank you. Ask and you shall receive.
But I would suggest that if you take a look at those and decide when we're.
As we get closer, yes.
Okay. I assumed EO assignment would be something that you would like.
Yep.
Chair?
Think that, and bring a slate to everybody for evaluation. That's for election day. We've got a little time. We've been a little pressed.
Okay. Well, that's all that I wanted to do there because I did think it was a good idea to kind of separate these things. And once again, as far as just more providing help to some degree, just providing oversight, but mainly providing help where needed.
Manual labor is appreciated. Right, Alex? Okay, anything else under new business?
We had
Yes,
LNA for.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
go.
No, this,
Got one more item. Hold on.
okay, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. You and I are both bringing up LNA, so go ahead.
At the beginning, we added LNA for the ballot on demand printers. And I propose that we print precinct ballot styles for the number of precincts that we have in accordance with the state guidelines, so that we'll end up with 31 ballots to test.
Exactly. And that's what we have discussed with
So
poll.
moved.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Wait. So you're proposing that we print one ballot for each ballot style?
One ballot for each ballot style, and that printing should obviously be distributed among the 5 ballot on demand printers that we have. So
Well, we don't need to do all of them because we only have 2 that would ever be printing their own ballots. The other ones not print their own ballots. Only the ones for early in-person voting.
but the 5 ballot on demand printers that we have are all used in early in-person voting. All potentially could
Oh,
be used. So I'd like, yeah.
And we need to check those
The only
ballots.
thing that we need to check is on the 2 DS300s that are being used.
That's a different thing, yeah.
That's-
We have to test all the scanners that could possibly be used.
We will be doing LNA testing on the print on demand. And we will seek some guidelines from our no ink representatives.
And on the same topic, further to that, assuming that we have all of these configured and printing on Monday, I propose we do the LNA testing on Tuesday.
Correct. Thank you. Good idea.
So
That was what we discussed.
9
Good.
o'clock.
Yep.
And that we provide notice to the party chairs.
Yep. Madam Council, what we are proposing is not a board meeting. It's LNA testing, so we can do it on Tuesday, even though today is only Friday. Just want everybody to understand it. Now,
And do we want to shade bubbles on those or just make sure that it's recognized?
we have to have a vote on the
I
ballot
think we should
for it
have
to read.
a marked 1-2 kind of ballot scheme such as the state suggests.
They have to, the machine has to read something or you're not testing it.
Well, reason I'm asking is, would you like me to come up with what we want to mark on those ballots?
Sure. And what the result ought to be. That'd be great.
Great. And you can go through the state guidelines because they've got them. That'll
We're
help
only
you.
doing one ballot.
Well, the state may,
Well, but the total, one of the things we have to check in the ballot on demand is that our totals are correct, not just on a per precinct basis. And so you'll be able
Right.
to see a 1, 2, 3 scheme in the overall total that you might not see on a precinct basis.
Okay.
Okay. So out of 31, how many votes did, each of the 2 governor candidates get? Well, one should get half of what the other one
So
got.
like with Brooke, bubble the, say the top candidate governor, and for Branchlands, we should shade the second candidate for governor.
For the next two, you would shade the second candidate for governor. So it's a 1-2 in terms of number of votes each gets.
Okay.
And,
All right.
Jim, there are state guidelines. You might want to take a look at the ones from the lab. And we can go through this when we talk to our poll pad people on Monday. I think they'll be able to give you some help.
The summary of that is just what I said, the 1-2 marking scheme. But yes, there's great guidelines on that. The second item I had was with regard to officer of election approval. It is the case that from time to time, this is a procedural thing. From time to time, the board is presented with officers of election to approve. We approve them, and some number of those never respond back to any further inquiries from us. And my suggestion is that after a period of 3 months has gone by, despite the manager of elections,
Excuse me.
best efforts, those folks should be, I don't want to make them not officers of election because it's harder to vote them off the rolls, but simply marked as inactive and not considered for assignment and no longer pursued. Typically, these are folks who only get a 1-year appointment. And so after that 1 year ends, they just would come out of our database.
So your proposal is that
Didn't hear it, I'm sorry.
once we have sent them their notice that they have been appointed, along with the response form and the oath form, if we do not hear from them in 3 months.
Despite the best efforts of the elections manager and their staff to interact with these folks, that after 3 months, the election manager takes no further action on this activity. We simply leave them. We don't try to follow them for the rest of the year.
But we leave them on the,
Like making
map,
them
right.
not officers of election is a rather more involved thing. And I'd rather not do that, but I certainly wouldn't want to consider them for reappointment at the end of their first 1-year appointment.
And Bucky brings up part of the way the Albemarle County Electoral Board has always handled the appointment of election officers. When someone puts in an application, we know nothing about that person, their name, address. Alex kindly or previous office have put where they're registered to vote, maybe Fairfax, maybe precinct 101 in Woodbrook. Maybe they give us some work history, maybe they don't. We get the year of birth. That's really about all we know. So we have traditionally always appointed people for 1 year because then they get to work. Their chief evaluates them, the other officers see how they work.
Their initial appointment.
Their initial appointment, we appoint them for 1 year. And then we either not appoint them again or we reappoint them the following year. So and as Bucky says,
Question. on
it's
the board.
much easier to just not assign somebody than it is to rescind their appointment. Yes, ma'am. No, there's a hand up.
Sue Lewis.
Yes, it's Sue Lewis has had her hand up for quite some time.
I'm sorry, I haven't seen your hand up, Sue. It's not shown up so we could
Well,
see it.
it's showing on my screen.
Sorry, not on our screen. Go ahead. We see you now.
Okay, thank you. This conversation that you're having, until Clarabelle, you started speaking, did not understand one word of it. Bucky needs to speak louder into the microphone or whatever. But I have no idea what you all were talking about until Clarabelle, you kind of clarified, at least for my purposes, what you were talking about. I suppose I can wait till the minutes, but there wasn't much of anything. I know Bucky had intended to put something in as an addition to this particular topic, but not a clue until you spoke. So everybody at the table needs to speak up.
Thank you very much for that reminder, Sue. We appreciate it. We'll try to do Better on the microphone. Thank you.
If I can repeat it, because I wanted to repeat it for purposes of getting it correctly in the minutes. What our vice chair has proposed is that for people that we have newly appointed to be election officers, if they do not respond to us in 3 months, then, and I have put it this way, they are considered inactive and not appointed. No, I'm not assigned, I'm not assigned.
Not assigned, because we don't,
Inactive an all right word to use?
Yeah, that's fine.
not sure about inactive. I think maybe just not assigned for the next election. That's what we've been doing.
Your proposal, what do you want to say?
It doesn't matter the word we use.
Okay.
The point is, we don't waste any more time on them. And out of the 650 people on our database, we don't consider them part of that. So we have 650 folks in our Officer of Election database, probably only 450 of which will ever work an election for us in the future. This enables us to clean that up a little bit.
But you don't want the word inactive?
There's nothing, there's no real term. Inactive does not exist in the verbiage in the code for an officer of election. Either they're appointed or they're not appointed. And so if we choose to simply not appoint them, we can do that.
Did appoint them.
Right. So we just,
It's not assigned.
exactly.
Right.
And
more importantly, I'm directing the elections manager and their staff not to spend any more time trying to chase this person down.
So you're making that as a motion?
Indeed.
Okay. Bucky move.
I have a question before you vote on it. Or a
Go ahead.
comment. Can you hear me?
yes, ma'am, we can. Much better. Thank you.
I believe both parties could be a big help to the board and the election manager by allowing both the Republicans and the Democrats to review those lists of people who have been approved but have not responded. The letter that goes out is very confusing. It says, congratulations, you have been approved. And I've talked to a number of EOs who said, I thought I was done. I was waiting for a phone call. So I think there could be some miscommunication, and whenever that is possible, perhaps we can help by clearing that up, by allowing the party chair to get those lists and say, look, we approved this person and we never heard back. They never responded. And allow us the opportunity, because it's hard to get good qualified people to apply, to give us the opportunity to reach out to them. Now, I'm not saying we're going to be successful. We might well fail in that effort, and especially if we don't have contact information, which I know you are not allowed to give us. Although I remember several months ago, I proposed and it was approved that you would ask if you declared yourself either a Democrat or Republican, if they would allow the party to reach out to them and share contact information. I have yet to receive any contact information, so I'm not sure what happened to that proposal. But I'd like you to consider allowing the parties to reach out to these people who have not responded. It's baffling to me they would go through the process of applying to be an EO and then just drop it and say, I don't want to do it.
Well, it's Karen, let me try to clarify a little bit, because this is a
No, I
very,
understand the issue. I just am asking for you to consider allowing the parties to just reach back out to those people.
the code,
Seems
and we've got counsel in the room. We are not able to release, and I know, I mean, I understand your question, but let me, for the other people on the call and in the room. When someone applies to be an officer of election, they do give us their name, their year of birth, their address, but that's considered personal information, and we are not allowed, and counsel, please feel free to jump in here. We are not allowed to release that address, or sometimes we get a phone number. We are not allowed to release that unless they give us specific authorization to release that to the parties. Or to
what about their name? Just their name.
the name And I cannot explain or justify anything that's happened between the office staff and the parties in the past. But I can tell you that the Code of Virginia provides that there should be available to anyone, any member of the public, a list of all of the appointed, approved officers of election. So if it's 500 or 600, you get the whole list of names. Wait a minute, Jim, I know Jim is just waiting to talk, but let me finish. I would like to think that the names are approved. Once they are approved, the names are available. And party or public can ask the election manager to send them the list of the names after every meeting of people who are approved. So you have an updated ongoing list. And then you can ask for the list of all of the people who are approved as officers of election. The problem is we can't send you their contact information. And I know that. We can ask that they authorize, they may choose not to. So all we can do is go forward from where we are now.
Now,
Jim,
in the past, when we have approved, let's say, 10 new officers of election, the names of those people approved have been attached to the minutes. This process has fallen by the wayside, unfortunately, but we are going to reinstitute it, starting with this meeting. Those names will be there with the minutes. So you'll see everybody that we approved as soon as the minutes come out.
Thank you.
thank you for bringing up the question. It's confusing for a lot of people. Any more discussion on that? Okay, other items. This ties,
Did we want to actually vote on the motion?
we can.
Oh, yes. I second the motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Excuse me, before you go on other items, I did have a question.
Yes,
and
sir.
you directed back to Bucky. Can I?
Go right ahead.
It's more so a technical observation with the poll pads. When
Okay.
you fire that poll pad up, and someone could have a senior moment, someone may not pay attention to how they were trained, but on that pop-up screen, it states acceptable IDs for
Yes,
voting.
We're
Yes, sir.
aware of this problem. They have
You aware of
IDs
that one about the-
outside of state and such. We've
Okay,
talked
all
about
right.
it.
So, okay, that was my question. Was that going to be
You're spot
correct?
on.
Okay.
They're not acceptable IDs in Virginia. So
Right. I mean, they're going to correct that
Yes, sir.
screen.
that's the plan.
Okay,
That
all right.
didn't happen yet, but
All
that's
right,
the
thank
plan.
you, sir. That was my
That's
question.
why we've spent so many hours working with poll pad people.
Well, that's why I want to make sure they clear that.
Yes, sir.
People can make mistakes and do it.
And before we move on to other business, I have an answer for your question from
Yes, ma'am.
earlier. The appointment statute is 24.2-106. Appointments are done by the chief judge of the locality, so the Albemarle chief judge of the circuit court. If there's a temporary vacancy, if there is, temporary disability or inability to serve on the board, the chief judge does that, as well as a more permanent vacancy. Obviously, the board composition is designated by a political party. So if there's a vacancy, it would need to be filled for the balance of that unexpired term by the same party. Their petition, the statute to remove electoral board member is 24.2-233. There are very limited reasons why it hasn't done through a petition to the court. There's limited reasons why an electoral board member can be removed, things like neglect of duty or the conviction of certain types of crimes. Any such petition has to be signed by 10% of the voters. The number 10% of the votes that were cast in the most recent election. So it's not just one person has to be 10% of that number. So I hope that answers your question.
Sorry, Madam
Yes, ma'am.
Chair, Peyton Walsh. Going back to the election official discussion with the term active,
We're not going to use that term.
I understand. But it seems to me like there is a disconnect to Karen's point about the letter that goes out. And I have been face to face with voters that come in to discuss, how do I become an election official? You're active if you've worked an election. How do you overcome some of those election working hoops? If the letter were revised to say, please come see us before, it feels like there is a disconnect. I'm just agreeing with that.
And I could not, to go back to the previous discussion, I could not agree with you and Karen more. And it's written here on this pad of mine to talk to Alex, who is now the election manager, to rewrite the letter that goes out to the officers, to clarify.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I've got it already written down. After Karen, rewrite approval letter. Now I'm going to add Peyton next to it. Thank you. Okay. Speaking of officers of election, our officer of election who have worked, and you point out, did they work an election? Many people who normally work the general election or even a special election in November or March or whenever they are good, reliable officers, but they can't work in June. Primaries, it's June. There are lots of reasons why people can't work in June. So we don't hold that against them. Just because they can't work in June doesn't mean they're taken off the list. So we're going to go over with the election manager the numbers of people who are assigned to a polling place. Because clearly in a presidential, you need lots of people. Not so many in a primary, and we're going to work on the number in November. So we don't have, again, people tripping all over themselves. Doesn't mean they've done anything wrong, just means we only need this number. So we're going to work on that. Polling places, we commented on that when we were signing. I'm looking at the contracts along with the registrar's office with thank you, Alex, for finding that box hidden away. Point of information to the CAP chief who is here. We are looking at the spreadsheet. No further discussion. Fear not. We have a CAP spreadsheet that can be used.
This is not meeting business.
Well, it is if we're going to do it.
This is not meeting business. Let's move.
Fine. Any other items that anyone else would like to bring up? Yes, Jim.
I'd just like to say that discussion has happened about the new UVA mobile digital electronic ID, and we now have official statements from UVA about this ID going into place. Plus we have screenshots of what the ID looks like so that we can use that in our training material.
Good. Any other items anyone else would bring before we go into confirmation for our next meeting? Okay, the next item on the schedule is scheduling of next meeting. We have a meeting already scheduled for the 18th at 9 o'clock, Thursday, the 18th at 9 o'clock. That's already been previously scheduled, posted. Do we want to go ahead now and schedule a meeting after that so we can go ahead and get it posted and scheduled?
Yes.
Gentlemen,
Today,
do we have a suggestion for a date?
9/22.
Monday morning?
23.
I would prefer Tuesday, the 23rd. That gives us time to recover from the 18th.
2 out of 3. So
I mean,
that's what we got.
okay, 9 o'clock on the 23rd. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Bucky. Okay, then. Is there any other business that we want to go before we go into closed session? Okay. Closed session meeting motion. I move that the Albemarle County Electoral Board convene a closed meeting pursuant to section 2.2-3711 parentheses A of the Code of Virginia to, under the subsection 1, to discuss and consider applications for employment for the position of permanent registrar to fill the unexpired term and any other personnel matters that we need to discuss. All in favor?
And for the purpose of discussion and consideration of the appointment, assignment, and performance of one or more current or prospective Albemarle County election officers.
That's personnel. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
No, that's usually.
You can put that in
You're
there.
accepting the
We're
amendment.
accepting the amendment. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are now in closed session. Thank you all for being here today.
And I would like to. Yeah.
Okay, the electoral board is back in open session. I move that the electoral board certify by recorded vote that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open public meeting requirements of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act and identified in the motion authorizing the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Passes. Jim, you want to notice?
The appointment of 10 new officers of election.
No, 4.
We didn't have 10.
We didn't have 10.
Why did I write 10?
Oh, no.
Unless you got another staff that we don't know about.
Nice try, buddy.
Good job. Good job. Whoa, you got our attention. Did you see that? We were all listening to them.
I wrote 10 on the top of the first one. 4.
Yeah.
I've got 4. Lucky's got 4. You'll attach their names to the minutes.
I move these 4 people.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
And before we close,
We need to approve the chief's list. Even assistant chief's list.
No.
I wait for a motion to approve the slate that we have presented for all the chiefs and all the assistants for all the polling places as it stands today, with the foreknowledge that it is, as all of our offices of election, a fluid document. But we're gonna notice all of these people that we approved today, the whole list.
So you're making the motion?
I am.
Okay.
And I'll second that.
Are we moving approval or what's the term? you want?
Assignment.
Approval of the
The assignment.
assignment sheet that we have.
As presented by our elections manager. Ended today.
I'll get 2 words. You move approval of the assignments of the chiefs and assistant chiefs as it stands today.
Correct. Is that okay with everybody?
List of assignments, I guess. I should
We
say.
voted on it. Now you've got it written down correctly, so it's done. I have a handout for each of the board members. These are the telephone numbers that Alex gave us with the individual people who are working in the office, so we
Oh.
know who and where they are. Doesn't need a vote.
What would be the 7 digits that precede these 4 digits?
Good point. It's,
9-6, I believe all these are, I believe.
I will tell you.
I can find this in Outlook, but I've never known what precedes it.
I think, I think
Most,
that's correct.
most of the county is 296. Such as IT is 296.
I think that's correct. How about 972?
Yeah, I've seen that too.
Oh, 9724173 is our office.
I think it's 972. But I will check immediately and text you. How's that?
Thank you.
Suspected spam. No, thank you.
Anything else?
Um,
We adjourn?
anyway, Bucky's thinking.
No, no, nothing else.
We're ready to go? Okay.
Adjourned at road to noon.